Hello and thanks for joining us for Inside the Americas. I'm Luke Brown. Coming up in the show, 50,000 body cameras for US police. Barack Obama vows to use his years left in office to prevent a repeat of the fatal Ferguson killing. A steep fall from grace for the man known as America's dad. Bill Cosby's reputation takes another blow after a lawsuit is filed claiming sexual abuse against a minor back in 1974. And Peru's ailing giants highlight the need for action at the UN's climate change conference. The rapid retreat of tropical glaciers across the Andes provide an inescapable truth for the delegates in Lima. Now, in recent months, the slogan "Hands up, don't shoot" has become a rallying cry against police brutality in the US. Protests flaring once more nationwide last month after a grand jury decided not to indict the policeman who shot dead a black teenager back in August. On Monday, Barack Obama met with protest leaders and the police to address tensions between law enforcement agencies and minorities. The White House wants the police to wear video cameras to hold officers responsible. Kate Moody has the story.
Attached to his uniform or even his glasses, a tiny wearable body camera has become indispensable for this police officer as he patrols the streets of Los Angeles.
There's a saying that, you know, the vest, the bulletproof vest can save your life, but the camera, it can save your career potentially.
The footage recorded can be used in prosecuting or defending suspects, as well as the officers themselves. It's an innovation that many believe could have helped prevent the riots in Ferguson, Missouri, where white police officer DARREN Wilson shot and killed black teenager Michael Brown in August. The narrative of that shooting has been widely disputed, with witnesses saying Brown had raised his hands in surrender before he was shot, and the officer, who's since resigned, insisting that he felt threatened. Police in Ferguson began wearing body cameras 3 weeks after the shooting in an attempt to increase their transparency. Now, President Barack Obama has outlined a $263 million program to expand police training and provide up to 50,000 body cameras for officers, as well as tightening standards on the provision of military-style equipment to local police departments. He insists it will help bridge the deepening divide between the American public and authorities.
Part of the reason this time will be different is because the President of the United States is deeply invested in making sure that this time is different.
The body cameras now worn by police in Los Angeles have gone some way to restoring confidence, like here in the city's troubled Skid Row neighborhood, where officers are greeted with a degree less hostility.
You get all the facts, even if somebody's innocent, and you see what's going on, and that'll protect that person's innocence also. Not just try to get somebody guilty, but to protect their innocence also.
Chicago's police department has said it will start testing similar cameras in the coming months. Though some have raised concerns about privacy protection, most believe the cameras will help increase accountability and public confidence in the police forces and prevent scenes like those in Ferguson from becoming the norm.
Staying in the US, where speculation is growing about the identity of the next defense secretary, sources in the administration say that the front runner to take charge of the world's most powerful military is Ashton Carter. The 60-year-old has no experience serving in uniform, but has worked as the Pentagon's #2 job. Well, whoever is chosen to replace Chuck Hagel will become Barack Obama's 4th defense secretary. Hagel forced to stand down in part due to difficulties working with the White House administration. Now, 40 years on, sexual abuse allegations have come back to haunt one of America's best-loved comedians. A lawsuit has been filed against Bill Cosby in Southern California for molesting a 15-year-old girl in 1974. Famed for his role as the good-natured father of The Cosby Show, Cosby's reputation has been tarnished in recent months after a spate of similar accusations spanning decades has come to light. Halat Mokhyeddin has the story.
For years, he was considered America's dad, the patriarch of the Huxtable family in the successful TV sitcom The Cosby Show. But that warm, wholesome image has been shattered in recent weeks after a string of sexual assault revelations have come to the fore. Allegations against the actor have been Hollywood gossip for years, but received public prominence after comedian Hannibal Buress made reference to the scandal in his current comedy tour.
Bill Cosby has the smuggest old black man public persona. I can talk down to you because I had a successful sitcom. Yeah, but you rape women, Bill Cosby, so it brings you down a couple of notches.
The The comedian went on to stress that the rape allegations weren't funny and urged people to find out more for themselves. His comments went viral, and to date at least 18 women have come forward to allege that they too were raped or assaulted by Bill Cosby. Many allegations date back to the 60s and 70s, like the case of Judy Huth, who filed formal charges against Cosby on Tuesday, alleging the actor molested her at the Playboy Mansion in 1974 when she was just 15 years old. The accusations mirror several other complaints where women argue Cosby gave them alcohol, drugged them, then assaulted them.
And I took him. Then my next memory is feeling drugged and him having sex with me.
Cosby has tried to distance himself from the accusations, trying to have questions on the allegations buried.
No, we don't answer that.
Okay. I just wanted to ask if you wanted to respond at all about whether any of that was true.
There's no response.
Thank you.
Now, can I get something from you?
What's that?
That none of that will be shown?
His lawyers have not commented on the most recent case, but they have called previous allegations defamatory and issued denials. A previous lawsuit against Cosby in 2006 was settled out of court. While the actor is unlikely to face criminal charges due to the statute of limitations, the scandal threatens to derail his planned comeback. Netflix and NBC have already cancelled planned TV programmes, and he's been forced to resign from Temple University's Board of Trustees. Meanwhile, the American public has been stunned to learn that one of their most beloved entertainers could in fact be a sexual predator.
In Mexico, the fate of 43 missing students continues to send shockwaves to the top of government. Waving blacked-out versions of the national flag, thousands marched in the capital on Monday, some demanding the president's resignation. It's the latest in a wave of demonstrations following the disappearance of the 43 student teachers in the southern Guerrero state in September. They're thought to have been kidnapped by corrupt police officers and handed over to drugs gangs. President Enrique Peña Nieto, marking 2 years in office, has vowed to root out police corruption, but opinion polls put his popularity at lows not seen in 2 decades. To Peru now, where 190 delegations have gathered for the UN's 20th Global Warming Conference, faced with a huge task. Their goal is to hammer out an international treaty in time for the next summit in Paris next year. In the 2 decades since the first conference held in Rio, sea levels have risen by 7.5 centimetres and CO2 emissions by 60%. One stark example of the challenges right on the gathering's doorstep. Peru's tropical glaciers are melting at a rapid rate. They've shrunk by 70% since 1970. Deepthika Laurent has more.
They call it the White Mountain Range, named for its snow-capped glaciers. Deep in the Andes at an altitude of over 5,000 meters, Peru is home to the largest chain of tropical glaciers in the world. It also provides nearly all water supplies to the Peruvian population, who mainly live on the arid coast. A rich heritage and vital source that's at great risk today. According to scientists, there's no doubt that global warming is to blame. They've measured the pace of retreating glaciers using thermal collectors, and the results are damning. Since 1980, glaciers have diminished by 40%.
Month after month, we've calculated a considerable loss of the glaciers. Since 2013, each glacier has retreated by 19 meters on average.
To boost their results, researchers have counted the number of hidden lakes formed in the last 40 years.
Today we can count 996 new lakes, and it's not hard to understand why. When a glacier melts, the first thing that happens is the formation of a pool of water.
With its diverse flora and fauna, Peru is one of the top 10 countries most at risk of global warming, and inaction is fatal. If nothing changes, the South American nation could lose 90% of its glaciers in the future.
Finally, to Cuba, where a mountain range is attracting tourists who aren't just there for the views. The Sierra Maestra Mountains served as a base for Fidel Castro, where he planned his revolutionary takeover. He sought refuge there with a small band of followers after landing on the island exactly 58 years ago this week. Now it's one of the island's top tourist attractions and a mecca for idealistic young Communist Party members.
Legend has it that Fidel Castro's guerrillas tried out their weapons on this stream more than 50 years ago. Today, Cuba's Sierra Maestra is an important place for Communist Party members. It's here that the former Cuban leader and his supporters planned a coup d'etat against US-backed President Batista.
This place is one of the high points of the combats of the Cuban Revolution.
In 1956, 82 guerrillas took a boat from Mexico to attempt their first coup against the regime. But the landing failed, and most of the men died in the ensuing fight. Only a dozen, including Fidel Castro, managed to escape with their lives and set up base in the Sierra Maestra. 2 years later, they headed to Havana, where they seized power in January 1959.
They gave everything for this country to go forward, and we are grateful. We will always be grateful for the revolution.
Today, the mountain has become one of the island's main tourist spots, welcoming thousands of visitors every year. Young members of the Cuban Communist Party also visit, making a kind of political pilgrimage.
At the time, they were forced to fight. What we have to do today is to really fight the bad that has been done, which means work with the youth so we know our history and roots, so we can become better revolutionaries and better communists.
With 2 million visitors every year, tourism is central to the Cuban economy, helping the country's past contribute to building its future.
That's all the time we have for this look inside the Americas. See you next week.